Another edition of 100% Canucks. John Shannon, soon to be joined by Landon Ferraro, and former Canuck winger Geoff Courtnall will join us to talk about his career in Vancouver, the pressures of playing in a Canadian city versus an American city, and maybe a couple of fun stories as well. So Geoff's living in Vancouver and Victoria, very successful in the real estate industry, and obviously a huge member of the Canucks alumni and participates in a lot of the tons of the charity stuff that the alumni does. So he will join us to discuss his career, might even talk a little bit about what's going on with the modern day team and who in fact will be the next general manager. If Geoff can tell us, that would be a good story, a good scoop for the old podcast. The only story going on in Vancouver is who will be the next general manager. Jim Rutherford, Michael Doyle, Francesco Aquilini are the search firm, the internal search firm to find the right person. I think there's still a lot of people that believe that Ryan Johnson, who is in the organization, is the front runner and has an opportunity to prove what he can do. But they're just turning over every stone in trying to make sure that Ryan is the right person, or in fact, is there a better candidate out there? In fact, Landon and I will discuss that a little bit after we finish with Geoff, just to figure out exactly what Landon thinks is going on and how long it will take to find the next general manager of the Vancouver Canucks. So join Landon and me with Geoff Courtnall after this break on 100% Canucks.
I won't keep you long. Darren Millard with a tip for everyone who loves great hockey podcasts like this one. John Shannon and I host the OG of 100% Hockey, coming your way multiple times a week. The guest list is the best you will find. Multiple shows a week ensures you won't miss out on any news, and we dig even deeper into the biggest stories around the NHL. Most of our guests are also friends, so I promise there'll be more conversation beyond the X's and the O's. John really does get bored with that after a while. So join us for 100% Hockey. The name says it all. Subscribe now while you enjoy thinking about it, and enjoy.
Welcome back to 100% Canucks, joined by one of the Courtnall boys, Geoff Courtnall. Welcome to the show, Geoff. And what are you keeping busy with these days?
Oh, well, thanks for having me on the show. I'm pretty busy with lots of different things, but mainly real estate stuff, and our society, we're busy with doing a lot of stuff for mental health.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, so we built the Archie Courtnall Center in memory of my dad in Victoria at the Jubilee Hospital, which is a facility for emergency mental health care. And then we raised the money for the 30-bed mental health unit at the Jubilee. So they go into the Archie Courtnall Center when they're in dire situations, and then try to get them better by getting them into the mental health clinic. And so now we've continued to raise money from different people to help other charities get funded and help guide them on what's needed in the community.
It does. It does keep your priorities straight when you understand the troubles that other people go through. Correct?
Yeah, it's. It's unfortunate. I mean, lots of people suffer through mental health and suffer in silence, like my dad did, and then unfortunately, now there's much more help out there. But I think that it's a big problem in our society today.
And, you have your foundation, but, you do a lot of work with the Canucks alumni as well. I saw you at the Canucks Autism Network tournament. And by the way, you're still flying around pretty good. That was my first time on ice since I retired the 2 years prior. I'm like, I'll be fine. I'm still pretty young. You guys were bombing around, but I could see your smile there, you were clearly kind of in your element in that weekend. Is the, charity and fundraising, helping out, has that always been a part of your life or something that's come later on?
Yeah, no, it's always been a big part of my life. I think that, Russ and I were so fortunate to make it into the NHL same time. Played against your dad and Russ roomed with your dad. So we were in that era. And I think that, my dad taught us early on to really give back. And I think that, that was one of the things we started. We helped raise a lot of the money for Canuck Place with the Courtnall Classic Fishing Derby we had here in Vancouver for 3 years. And so we've always tried to do something and be involved. And Russ really spearheaded the golf tournament in Victoria for mental health.
So let's talk a little bit about hockey. What was it like to play against your brother? You played with him lots as a kid. What was it like to play against him?
Well, you know what? We played junior together on a line and had it's kind of a great story. I mean, I played my 19-year-old year and I had a great year, but I actually was going to go to UBC and play on the hockey team there. And then they traded for Russ. He was with Medicine Hat's right. Medicine Hat had his rights. And so I went back and played overage. And then at Christmas, I could have signed with, quite a few teams, and I picked Boston. But then Russ was in Toronto. And so whenever we played against each other, it was tricky because we're pretty close. And, he always wanted to play a good game against me, and I always wanted to play a good game against him.
Was there ever a friendly wager in the summer, maybe on the golf course or something?
No, there wasn't, but he used to give me a hard time, and I used to give him a hard time as well. We always wondered whether we'd meet in the playoffs or, and then finally in Vancouver we played. He was in Dallas, and that was the 94 run.
The 94 run, indeed. What was it like to finally get back and play for, I would assume, the team you watched as a kid?
Yeah, it was, it's very, very interesting. I mean, I only got to go to a couple of Canucks games growing up when I was 12 and when I was probably about 15. And that was always, a big thrill to get to go to the Pacific Coliseum and watch them play. So when I got traded from St. Louis to Vancouver, it wasn't a great time for me to get traded because the team was first overall in St. Louis, and I was playing with Brett Hull and Adam Oates, and we had a great team. And if I had to get traded to any team, coming home to Vancouver was just an unbelievable move for me.
And of course, that was before the days of no trade or no move contracts. So you didn't really have much say, did you?
No, I didn't. Yeah, we were in Hartford, and they called us. Well, there's four of us. They called us into the room and just told us, "Oh, yeah, we traded you guys. So go back to the hotel." And we get back to the hotel, and then there's messages talk to the general manager, and we're going to Vancouver. So my family was pretty excited.
What was that experience like though, obviously telling everyone, but, coming back, because I obviously am a bit younger and I see it now, and obviously there's social media and, there's so many different news outlets that like you couldn't get away from it. Was it still a bit overwhelming coming back and playing, or was it a bit easier at that time?
Yeah, it was overwhelming for sure because, everybody in my family always wanted to come to the games, and then lots of friends that I grew up with that I hadn't heard from for a long time wanted to come to the games. They thought I got 20 free tickets for every game. But anyway, it was that part of it was overwhelming. But playing the game here in Vancouver was, probably, a great 5 years of my career.
What do you think of when I mention the 94 final? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, Nathan hitting the goalpost with 2 minutes left. That's pretty much as always, we were coming up. It's, it was a long, long haul. And if you followed the whole series, Calgary really were favored to win the cup that year.
Yeah,
and they had an amazing team, and to beat them in game 5 in overtime, and then game 6 in overtime, and then double overtime in game 7. And then it just started to roll from there. We gained confidence. And so to go all the way through, I think after Game 6 in Vancouver beating the Rangers, I thought we would win in Game 7. And they unfortunately, we just ran out of time, really. We were coming on strong in the third period, had a bunch of chances to tie it up, and it's a tough one to lose.
So Madison Square Garden wasn't that intimidating?
Oh my God. Yeah. it was crazy in there. The first game, I remember there was hundreds of fans in warm-up standing around the glass because they could come down low, and they were just like taunting us nonstop the whole time in warm-up. So yeah, it was an intimidating place to play in for sure.
When you look back on it, obviously, you see the post and all that, but how many different moments through that whole 2 month run just are so vivid in your mind of different things on ice, but also more off ice, little whatever, stories of guys messing up, bust things, whatever little things, but those are the ones that kind of stick with you. To give you a better example, because that was a terrible question, was I won the Calder in the American League. And as much as I remember a bunch of the stuff on the ice, there's so many things from the hotels and for us, the bus rides that I'll never forget. How many of those for you bring a smile to you?
Yeah, lots. I think that 94 playoffs, before they started, we did a little team bonding. We went paintballing, before the playoffs started. And it was still, I can remember it was the most fun I've had, during my career with a group of guys all trying to shoot each other. And I think it just started from there. And then there was lots of different things that happened. In New York, we would get police escorts all the way down Manhattan through to the Coliseum, and all their fans everywhere on the street would be giving the bus the finger. And, it was just lots of great moments. We really had a great group of guys on that team.
You can't tell me Pat Quinn was doing paintballing, though.
No, he was not there.
I can only see Pat with a three-piece suit. That's all you see, Pat, with a three-piece suit.
Pat was an amazing leader. It was a really interesting ride to play for him. I think that he knew when to be hard on us and when not to be, and he was just a really great coach and general manager.
And imposing.
Oh yeah, no, he. I remember a game in Winnipeg where we were losing 4-0 after the first period, and he came in and punched I don't even know how many gallons, probably 5-gallon Gatorade jug, and it went flying across the room, and it was full. Nobody in the dressing room could even lift it up. So after that, we came back out and tied it up in the second.
What was it? I knew Pat, but I never ever sat and talked about tactics or strategy with Pat about the game. What was he like with, how to forecheck? What was he like with game plans?
Yeah, he was really good. He would, usually after the morning skate, we'd have a meeting, or before the game, we'd have a meeting, and he pretty much laid it out for you. And if you did your job with Pat, he was a supportive guy. I love playing for him.
In your career, you were on a lot of teams that had playoff success and were able to be in the playoffs a good number of your 17 years. And you played 156. And so clearly there was, on top of your skill, there was things about you that teams wanted and good teams wanted. And, now we're looking at a Canucks team that's going into a rebuild and all of that. To you, what was it about you that you could show up at playoff time and you put up 109 points in those 150-ish games?
Yeah, I loved playing in the playoffs. I think that, I was a pain in the ass for a lot of guys. I loved to use my speed and get in and hit guys and play. Playoffs is so much more physical quicker game, but I just love the competition and I love to win. And I think that's, what brought me a lot of success in my career. I think only one year that in Boston, I think one year we didn't make the playoffs there, but that was a good team to really learn. I learned from a lot of guys there that, it was a grind, hardworking team that were in a lot of physical series. And I think that I just think that the competition in the playoffs is just so much more fun, and it's definitely a grind. Your body's pretty much beat up afterwards, but I loved being a part of teams where we won the games in the overtime or in the playoffs.
So like that year in '88 with the Oilers, when you go all the way and you win, and I mean, you have that experience again in '94 in a different sense, but like, what did you learn about yourself and your body in that playoff run in '88 that you might have not known before?
Yeah, well, so the '88 team, obviously, it was an unbelievable thrill to get. I didn't want to get traded from Boston at the time I got traded. That was the best year I had. I was on a line with Cam Neely and Kenny Linsman, and Cam and I were both having our best years ever. I got traded at the deadline for Moog with Bill Ranford. But Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, those are two of the greatest leaders in a dressing room that I've ever played for. They really showed me what it took to win. And in the playoffs that year, I played on the checking line with Craig McTavish and Norm Lacombe. So we didn't, that team was so stacked that our job was to just go out there and really run around and hit guys and check guys. And I think, we only lost 2 games the entire playoff. And so to go through that, it was definitely really physical and hard on the body playing that role there. And I think that, it was an amazing experience.
And it was Wayne's last game as an Oiler as well. Did you guys have any clue?
No clue at all. I actually, so I became a free agent. My contract was over, so I became a free agent that year. So I actually went to Wayne's wedding in Edmonton. And so that was right after everything had kind of gone the way it went, him going to LA, but I never had any idea that was going on.
It was the day that changed the game of hockey in so many ways.
I agree. And, I think that a lot of kids in California started to play hockey after Wayne went to LA, and, they started playing roller hockey down at the beach. And I think that all the parking lots, it was quite interesting. You'd go there after that to play against the Kings, and we always stayed in Santa Monica, and you'd go down along the Strand and there'd be like these parking lots where they had hockey nets and guys were playing roller hockey. So it was, I think it definitely transformed the league.
Well, I'm one of those guys, Geoff, that believes that, obviously with Wayne going to LA, there would be no team in Anaheim. I don't think there'd be a team in Dallas, and I don't think there'd be teams in Florida. I think that he proved to a lot of people the Sun Belt could attract hockey and hockey fans, and he changed the whole thought process just by showing up and competing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that expansion definitely has been a big part of what happened in that era with Wayne in LA. I mean, they go to the finals against Montreal. I think that, all those things that happened over that time, I think were pretty good. Well, hopefully you don't see that name.
No, we don't.
No.
Don't worry.
It's a president of another NHL team. I know he's calling me to go, okay, who are the Canucks hiring?
Well, you want to tell us?
I have no idea. I don't even know who they're interviewing. Landon would probably know more than me.
I'd like to think so, but probably not much. I'm trying, but you're tapped in over here. It is really fun though. Like being on this side in the media now, and I'm around the rink, and how much you guys, the alumni, are around now. Like I don't remember that being as much of a thing here in Vancouver when I was younger. But your group has really kind of got that moving, and I know you guys have your skates during the season and all of that. Like, how fun is it to still have that community kind of built in right here for you, that you're lucky enough to live, where you played as well?
Yeah, I think, you know what, I'm from Victoria and I'm from BC, but Vancouver is the greatest place to live. I lived all over. Boston was a great city, but for guys in the alumni who've got, been fortunate enough to be able to stay here in Vancouver and do things here, Kirk McLean does so much, Dave Babich does so much. I think all those guys, it's great for the alumni to get them out to all these events, and it's just great to be a part of the community. So it's really good for Vancouver.
So at the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, they make you pick a hat that goes on your bust. And if you were to go into a Hall of Fame, Geoff, outside of Victoria, because you and Russ are obviously in the Victoria Sports Hall of Fame.
You got the BC as well, right?
What?
Yeah.
And the BC Hockey
No, I
Hall.
don't. I think I'm in the BC Sports Hall of Fame.
But you're in the BC Hockey Hall of Fame.
In the BC Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah. What hat would you wear? Would you wear a Bruin hat, a Canucks hat, a Blues hat?
I'd wear my black Canucks hat.
You would?
Mm-hmm. The one I wear fishing up north all the time.
And in your time, was there a difference playing for a Canadian team? We make so much out of it today in 2026, playing for a Canadian team versus an American team. Was it that way when you played?
Yeah, I think obviously a lot of guys wanted to play in the States. Taxes are a lot lower, and the U.S. dollar. It wasn't when I played. It wasn't. You didn't get paid in the same. Well, towards the end, it was. They started paying guys in U.S. dollars in Canada, but now it's the same. Taxes are a little bit higher, but I think it's lifestyle, big part of it.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, living in Vancouver is a lot nicer than living in a lot of places in the U.S.
So you don't think there'll be problems attracting players to come to play in Vancouver?
Well, I think here's the thing. When you're a free agent, which is where you can get the most players, I was in the position 3 times. I always got more, quite a few teams bidding for me, and I always chose the team where I thought I had a chance of winning. And so I think that's where the Canucks need to get back to. I think that, and until they do, I think that it's going to be difficult because it's hard to make trades that can make an impact. It's not easy. There's it's going to take finding some players from the American League and filling different spots and just trying to turn it around.
I mean, like it's so different too, right? Like there's a need. Obviously, you have to draft well. You have to do all these steps, and you're right. Right now, and even before, coming into this past season, trying to get free agents or whatever that may be, you're right. Like at the end of the day, winning's all that matters. And right now, at that point, there's a lot of excuses not to come to Vancouver. You get to a winning culture and you build that up to a point that there's no other excuse anymore, and they can do it, right? Like they're already down the first step. There's a lot of work ahead, but it all goes back to winning, right? Mm-hmm. Like you only have so long to play. I don't know about you, but I'd take a little less cash if I knew there was a decent chance at a cup at the end of it.
Yeah, I think that's it right there. I mean, I played for, 17 years and I won the Stanley Cup once. I only got there twice. It's not easy. And I think that now with players with no trade clauses, it makes it even more difficult to get guys in a situation that they don't want to go to.
I'm just curious. You played 1,000 games, more than 360 goals. What would you view as your most your best individual achievement as an NHLer?
Well, I mean, I think obviously my best year was I played on a really good line with Dale Hunter and Dave Christian in Washington and scored 42 goals. I mean, we had a really good team there. And so that was probably performance-wise individually, that was probably my best year. But I look at the 94 Canuck run was probably my best year of really playing in the playoffs and playing with a great group of guys.
Actually, that was a year you played every game in the regular season and every game in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that, I was lucky, touch wood, that I had a lot of time in my career where I didn't have injuries. And that's, I think that's another reason why I had a lot of success.
By the way, did Dale Hunter bark at you as his centerman too? Yeah,
Dale Hunter is probably one of the best centermen that I played with. Dale Hunter was, obviously there's a reason Michel Goulet scored 60 goals every year. And I found out playing with Dale, he was a tough guy for guys to play against. And he was an amazing passer.
That's awesome.
And one of the toughest SOBs you'd ever meet.
Yeah, he and I drove to the rink together every day for practice and lived by each other in Washington. And I really got to know him. He was a phenomenal teammate.
I've got to ask this simply because, while I was kind of doing some quick prep and looking at some of your numbers coming into the pod here, I saw that you ended, 1,049 games, but I did see you ended at 799 points.
I know, that kills me every time.
Okay, I had to ask because my dad finished at 898, and I know those 2 points just eat at him still. It's been over 20 years, and it still bugs him. Okay, so there's my answer.
Okay, and the worst part was, I tipped a shot Chris Pronger took in Calgary, and they gave him the goal and never changed it. So I always think back to that goal. Could have given me 800.
If we have video evidence, we can go to the NHL statistical department and get it changed. It's like DNA. DNA things can change, and Pronger's getting too much attention anyway these days.
I know. He sent me his book yesterday, and I sent him an email back going, "Yeah, you owe me a goal."
John, that could be our thing here. We could be the people that really, we take care of the alumni. We get them to that next milestone.
Yeah.
You mean kind of like cold cases or something like that?
Exactly.
Hey, listen, Geoff, thanks for the time. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thanks a lot for having me on.
Geoff Courtnall, Landon and I'll be back after this on 100% Canucks.
All right, listen up. Today I want to talk about giving 110%. Giving 100% means giving everything you got. Giving 110% means giving 10% more than is humanly possible. If we're going to win as a team, we need 100% of you guys giving 110% 100% of the time. If only 50% of you guys give 110% and 50% of you guys give 100%, I guarantee you 100%, we'd only win 50% of our games. Suppose 75% of the 110% gave only 50%. And 50% of the 100% gave 25%. And 75% of the 110% were not feeling 100%. Then we'd be in a heap of trouble. That's why we need 100% of you guys giving 110% 100% of the time. Okay. Let's go out and play some hockey.
So I gotta ask you. You loved asking the question about $7.99, didn't you?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of my favorite things, whether my dad likes to work it into a conversation of how he got, because same thing. If you ask him, he'll list off like 3 or 4 points that he's like, I didn't get one there. I know I had it. They know exactly where it is. But again, like it's been over 20 years. And you saw the reaction, that big smile. He's like, I think about it all the time. I knew it would eat at him. So I had to know how that one was.
Tell you what, he was a really effective player for a long time.
Yeah.
He was so good. And he was one of those guys that, if your team thought that they could make a run to the playoffs, make a run to the Stanley Cup, well, let's see if Geoff Courtnall's available. As he said, he was traded he was a free agent 3 times. He was traded at the deadline twice in order to help teams get to the next level, including, as you mentioned to him, the Stanley Cup in 1988 for Edmonton, which was their 4th in 5 years.
Yeah, and that's why I was so curious to ask him, like, what about playoffs to him made him elevate? Like, what not only made him elevate, but like allowed him to. And honestly, like, there's he gave some some really good points of what he thought, but I think it came down to really him just saying, he's like, it's fun. Like that type of play is fun. You can't force a guy to love physicality and put himself in a position that going into it that this might not end well, but I'm going to go in anyway. Like, you can't force someone into that. You either have it inside you or you don't, and he clearly did. And really, like, that's the only reason he got moved along as much as he did was, like you said, like, if you were close or felt you had a chance, that's a type of player that you went to really bolster your lineup, because that he was going to show up and be able to provide you really solid minutes in a run.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he was one of those guys that if you were a fan of the team that he played for, you loved him. But if he played for the other team, you absolutely hated him, because he talked about he could drive people nuts.
Yeah,
he was a whirling dervish out there. Wasn't a goon by far, but he was prodding and poking all the time and doing what he had to do to get some level of advantage. And he, and like his brother, they could skate like the wind. They were such great skaters, so fast that.
Hey, and John, I gotta cut you off. You said was. I'm not kidding. Oh my God, he still skates unbelievable. Like I was blown away. Okay,
you're in Vancouver.
I am.
It's funny that, and we can. There's a segue here somewhere, but the Toronto Blue Jays are playing in Toronto. Not many people are noticing. Honestly, they're not a factor. The Raptors are in the playoffs. Not a factor. All everybody in Toronto's talking about is who's going to be the general manager.
Yeah.
I get the sense that it's the same discussion in Vancouver.
Yes, it is. It's all there is, right? Like, it's the only decision that matters right now. You can bring up all the other things that need to get done before the draft and at the draft and moving forward through this rebuild, but none of that can get done without the person in charge.
Right.
And so it is the most vital thing, and really the only topic to go at right now. And there's different names that obviously popped in both markets, and it'll be interesting to see. Like, like, my gut still tells me that Ryan Johnson's the guy here, but needing to be thorough and make sure that they talk to a bunch of other people and are confident in their decision, that they've done their due diligence and are able to move forward.
And it's funny, I do get a sense that it is Ryan Johnson's job, and they're just trying to make sure there isn't someone out there that they view as more impactful. I don't want to say better, because we just don't know, but is there a bigger name out there more impactful for the Vancouver Canucks at this point. I mean, let's be frank about it. I mean, Shane Doan is going to be talked to. Ryan Johnson has more experience in team management than Shane Doan does.
Yeah.
Unless you are bringing back one of the members of the old boys club, a former general manager that is available, or you're bringing someone in who has been around the league for 20 years, Ryan Johnson's resume reflects well against all of these young guys that people are talking about that are going to be interviewed or going to be discussed amongst Canuck ownership and management. And so I think Ryan's in a pretty good spot still.
Yeah, and the thing that all those other, call them new guys, don't have that Ryan Johnson does is organizational knowledge.
Right.
And, I know Johnson a little bit, and, when you talk to him, you never get a feeling of, or leaving that conversation of, I wonder what he really meant, right? Like, he's a very good communicator. He's personable. He's able to, he's strong in his ways and his beliefs for sure, but is open enough, obviously, of letting people in and having input and trying to do that. But at the end of the day, is a strong, he's got a backbone. He's gonna do what he thinks is best, and you need to be able to do that in this job. But because he's already been in here, he knows the young players. He knows the deficiencies, not of the players. I mean, of the players, yes, but of the organization and the things that he sees from being on the outside. Within the inner bubble, you're still kind of on that outside. He's seen it all. And to me, that brings so much knowledge that he can come in and really put to work a plan that he's had years to think about, because there's no way he's not sitting in that Abbey chair thinking and not plotting, that's a bad word, thinking and, just like every player thinks about a coach's decision of what he would have done in that situation. He's doing the same there.
He's being proactive as the manager of the AHL team.
Yes. Yeah. That is the better way of saying that. Thank you, John.
And the other thing, I just want to address something a lot was made of earlier in the week that Jim Rutherford has a list, and Michael Doyle has a list, and Francesco Aquilini has a list. Here and we look at Nashville, who are on the verge of hiring somebody. They went and found a search company to help them. Toronto Maple Leafs have a search company to help them. I view Rutherford, Doyle, and Aquilini as the internal search firm. That's how I view it. And so I think too much has been made about the different lists. It's just like when you and I sit and have a conversation, we bring up certain things that I think of that you may not have, and vice versa. And I think that that's exactly the case, what's gone on with the three of the gentlemen that are trying to, figure out who's the best to run a $1 billion organization.
Yeah, I'd be real disappointed if I heard those three came into a room and they had 5 names on each of their lists and they are the exact same 5, right? Like you're saying, like, there's no debate there. There's no, I look at the game very differently than you would look at the game, right? Like, that's without a doubt. And I would think of things in a better light than you in some, and you vice versa. You have to be able to read off of those things and knowing that, okay, I might have a better sense of, the tactics and the feel between the player, those relationships. You have a better feel for how that manager would deal with other GMs and the market and the media, all of that. Like, everyone has their ability to help. You need to take advantage of those. If it's just coming from one place, well, I mean, what good is that? I got a list, right? Like, you've got a list. Anyone can make the list.
Just what I think it's fair to say, I don't think anybody wants a rush to judgment.
No.
What they need to do is get it right.
Yeah.
Get it right for this organization. They don't need that person in place even for the draft lottery. They don't. Doesn't need to be there.
This is one of those things to me that, because they're not in playoffs because, like that's all there is to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's a situation as well of, call it 5 years down the line and say the Canucks are in the playoffs for the first time, just like Anaheim's doing right now.
How long did you say?
I said 5. I was halfway through it and I didn't feel great about it, but I had to keep going. Hey, you just got to soldier on sometimes.
Say 3. Make everybody feel better. Say 3.
Yeah, I'll say 2.5 years from now, just to one up you a little there.
Okay.
No, but so in a few years, they're back in the playoffs. And, do you think anyone on the media side or fans are going, oh, if they would have made the decision a month earlier, we would have been here 3 weeks earlier? Like it won't matter as long as, like you said, as long as they make the right decision for the organization right now. That's the only thing that matters, and you can't rush that.
No. That's that to me is the most important thing is take your time and don't bend to demands of the market or of certain people. Just get the right person to run this company, this company, this team for the next decade.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be grand to know that this person is going to come to town and run the team for a decade? What a revelation that would be.
I couldn't imagine from their side wanting to get that right. And obviously that means that things are going great for your organization, but also just knowing I don't have to do this again right now. And from us on the media side, we don't want to have to talk about it again. So go get that perfect this first time through. Take your time, do your due diligence.
Exactly. All right, Landon, we'll talk to you next week.
Have a good one.
Thanks for listening and watching this edition of 100% Canucks.